Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be discussing biomaterials and their history. My name is Eduardo Longoria, and this is The Process.
The Process.
Biomaterials, traditionally defined as materials used in medical devices, have a multiple thousand-year history of use and recently have undergone massive growth in efficacy and sophistication. From tattoos to wooden legs to gold teeth to lab-grown organs and maybe one day the cyborgs of science fiction, we will be discussing the growth and development of these materials and their study. While not for any real medical purpose, the first examples of intentionally implanted foreign materials in the body are tattoos. The ingredients used to make the ink vary significantly based off of the region and demonstrates the ability of the human immune system to tolerate foreign bodies, even when they're not designed to be tolerated. Implants intended for medical purposes appear circa the year 1065 to the year 740 BC, with Egyptians using carved wooden prosthetics to replace amputated toes. The artifact was found at the archaeological excavation of the Thebes West tombs in Egypt. More than just a simple peg leg that one might imagine on pirates, these prosthetics were anatomically correct and carved to fit the user. Along with wood, there are other cases of using animal bone and various metals to make prosthetics. Particularly in dentistry, we see the early examples of biomaterials. Gold, due to its chemical inertness, was commonly used in dental implants up until the late 20th century and appeared in civilizations across the globe. One of the earliest examples known is an Etruscan artifact of gold wire and a filed-down cow's tooth being used to replace a lost incisor on a person who lived circa the year 600 BC. Leaping forward by multiple millennia, eye prosthetics that we have evidence of being used during the lifetime of the patient first emerged in the 17th century in the form of painted silver balls. This eventually evolved into the glass eye of the 1800s. While gold and silver and glass are bioinert, non-reactive to the human immune system, the advent of high-quality and chemically pure glass allowed for much less expensive and more comfortable prostheses. Because both gold and silver are relatively heavy, dense metals, and while they were bioinert, they were able to, cause a lot of pressure on the inner eye socket, and so weren't comfortable to wear for a long period of time. In the early to mid-20th century, the creation of plastics and other polymers opened the door for a much wider variety of biomaterials and applications. Along with increased understanding of biocompatibility and the standardization of sterilization practices, these new materials offer doctors a way to make much smaller and more delicate implants. 1939 had the first academic inquiry into the biological reaction of blood vessels to being wrapped with cellophane. Cellophane being a new plastic at the time derived from cellulose. This cellophane, while able to hold the blood vessels together, exhibited a, quote, marked fibrotic reaction, just as the nylon used in 1941 did when used as a suture. Further research in the late 1940s attributed the strength of the immune system reaction to impurities in the plastic and found that a new plastic, known as Teflon, did not have the same problems. As time progressed and the 1960s came about, materials arose designed specifically for biomaterials applications. Polymethyl methacrylate and nylon were used to manufacture artificial heart valves. In the modern day, materials like hydrogels, biologically produced ceramics, titanium, and bioglass are pushing the boundaries of what can be implanted into the human body. With research in immunology and chemistry came the emerging fields of material science, as well as the discovery of the complement system, and the rise of materials that are not just biocompatible, but bioactive, and able to be fully absorbed into the body. The research that went into the creation and testing of bioactive biomaterials not only makes the full regrowth of a body part possible, but lays the foundation for the production of new organs and limbs. When a material is bioactive and able to be colonized by human cells in the body, the natural question is, can it be colonized by human cells outside the body? And if yes, could you just grow replacements for injured or missing body parts rather than have an implant? At the cutting edge of the field lies research on bioprinting and being able to entirely eschew the need for prosthetics altogether. Bioprinting allows for the organized and controlled growth of cells into a defined shape and onto a biological scaffold. It's already been shown that hearts, livers, and other organs can be entirely rebuilt by removing diseased cells and leaving just the extracellular matrix onto which a bioprinter can print human stem cells. The practice of bioprinting first began in the early 2000s in the university system, of course, and for very, very high cost, and has yet to become affordable and scalable, but shows incredible promise for the future. And now for some things I find particularly worth talking about. As a lover of materials science, I should probably establish the 4 categories of materials and how they relate to biomaterials. So you have your 4 categories: metals, ceramics, polymers, and composites. So the first 3, you can break down any materials that you're likely to interact with on Earth into one of those 3 categories, and composites are going to be combinations of the previously mentioned 3. While biomaterials is a nice term, and it isn't a nonsense term, it has real information behind it, it isn't really a term in materials science, because any biomaterial is going to be able to fit within one of the first 3 categories. Hydrogels are going to fit within polymers, hydroxyapatite or any sort of bone graft is going to fit within ceramics, and metals. Your titanium hip replacement is made from titanium, a metal. But in any case, the biomaterials aren't a magical 5th category, but the term does still carry weight. So I'd like to talk about just some biomaterials I find incredibly interesting that are on the cutting edge of science today, and that we can really see coming into vogue and being particularly useful, particularly present in the world that we can see in the next 10 years or so, hopefully coming into common use. So in my case, I take particular interest in polymers in the form of hydrogels and ceramics in the form of hydroxyapatite. So hydrogels, in the most general sense, are water-based gels made from long-chain polymers suspended in that water. Depending on the organization of these polymers, these hydrogels can be stiff or flexible, respond to a wide variety of stimuli, and are very compatible with the human body, and can support the growth of human cells in the body or in the lab. Because of their ability to respond to a wide variety of stimuli, including electrical charge, research is currently going into using these hydrogels as batteries to power other implants in the body, and even to make more lifelike robots that can flex and bend because they're made out of hydrogel. Not only that, but there's ample research on making polymer composites into hydrogels to create even more versatile and durable materials. Conductive hydrogels like polyaniline, polypyrrole, or polyethylene glycol can combine with cellulose, chitosan, or even graphene to make hydrogels that can conduct and recover from repeated mechanical stress and strain. So if a human being wanted to have electronics inside of them that wouldn't have the risk of rupture or immune system rejection, they could have their cybernetics made with these composite hydrogels and not deal with the risks associated with inserting more traditional electronics into the body. Hydroxyapatite is the bioceramic that makes up human teeth and is now being investigated as a means to regrow bone in the case of recovering from grievous injuries. This bioceramic can be grown in the lab as well as taken from the patient's own teeth and used as a scaffold into which new bone cells can grow. Thank you very much for your time, everyone, and I hope you found this process to be enjoyable. Have a great night.